Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. My thoughts on LSU's team morale heading into the last 2 weeks here. Look at a couple of home games at night inside Tiger Stadium. Got some thoughts from Will Campbell as well as Brian Kelly, so we'll do that coming up shortly. But we'll talk hoops at 2 o'clock every Wednesday with Matthew Brune, part of the Bengal Tiger team over there on 3. Tigers got a win last night in the PMAC. We'll talk with Matthew about it as he joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. How we doing, man?
Hey, Hunt, doing well. Busy week. I think I have a game to cover every day except Thursday this week, so that's fun.
It's that time of year. A lot of things happening here in Baton Rouge. LSU on the hardwood last night. They get a win, 77-68 over Charleston Southern. It just took them a long time to get out of neutral. Same thing kind of happened against Alabama State about a week ago. What do you make of these kind of sluggish starts against lesser teams?
Yeah, I think I don't want to put it all on one player or anything like that, but I don't understand starting Robert Miller at the 4. This is not a shot at his talent or anything like that. He is a very highly touted freshman who is going to have a very, very good career at LSU. But at this point in his career, he is not he's not providing anything really for them. He only has 1 offensive rebound in 4 games. He has 8 total rebounds. He's really, you saw Charleston Southern really attack them on the glass, and I think
thought of when I think about Robert Miller is that he's hoisted 8 threes thus far and he hasn't made any of them, and I'd kind of like that to slow down to a halt, quite frankly. LSU's not quite good enough on offense at this point, especially not when you play a lot of the first half without Cam Carter and without Jalen Reed. To have him hoisting some threes, I don't know if that was the wisest decision, but it's not like he's chucking up 4 or 5 a game, but he's not making any of them. So I think he's a guy that is growing into his skill set. He's a talented big. He's growing into his frame. He can really run. He can really jump, and he's got long arms. But I don't know that he's the most productive player for you at this current juncture. And it would be one thing if you didn't have any other options outside of Robert Miller. But the fact is you do, and they're not like unproven guys. You're talking about guys that are juniors. You're talking about guys in Derek Fountain that's played 3 years of SEC basketball. Now, he's not available right this second, but he's a guy that has played a lot of SEC hoops and can theoretically help you in that spot. I'm curious how much of these early game woes that LSU has had against Alabama State and Charleston Southern are due to lack of juice around those games. Because it certainly wasn't an issue against Kansas State. They came out ready to roll and played great. It certainly wasn't an issue against Loyola of New Orleans. And I don't want to put too much stock in an exhibition against an NAIA team, but they came out and played hard and made some shots and looked really good. And so we'll see coming up on Friday, if against Pittsburgh on Friday, LSU comes out and really looks good in the first 10 minutes of action, I think it's reasonable to take that amount of information and go, okay, well, they didn't play well against Alabama State and Charleston Southern, but in games against Pitt and Kansas State, they did come out and really play well to start the game. So we'll see. I think it may be a little bit of both. I think we got Matthew back now, so we'll kind of continue our conversation. Apologies, Matthew, as the whole grid went down here, guarantee. But you were talking about the fact that Robert Miller has a great future at LSU and has a lot of talent, but the production's not necessarily there. And I'll kind of let you continue on that thought.
No, yeah, I would look at, starting either a Corey Chest, a Derek Fountain, Damian Collins. I just think they need a little bit more punch in the front court to start games. The bench has been awesome. The bench was the reason that they were able to stay in the game and eventually win last night. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little shakeup in the starting lineup at some point.
As far as the rebounding went in the first half, it was just odd because it was off the heels of such a great rebounding effort against Kansas State. Do you think it was just a little bit of bad luck? Do you think it was a little bit of a lack of energy? Why was it such a battle on the boards early last night?
Yeah, I definitely think it was a lack of energy to a degree. Also, I think just the way that LSU defends, they try to take away the 3-point line. They get stretched out at times, and Charleston Southern was able to get some perimeter shots up that maybe bounced their way. So we'll see. Jalen Reed, I think, also only playing 5 minutes in the first half.
Yeah.
They just didn't feel like they had a presence on the inside for a lot of it. As much as, I like Damian Collins and Corey Chest and whatnot. It's just been a little inconsistent, but I do think them getting up for the game against Kansas State certainly helped, and we'll see, if they can do that this weekend.
Victorious Miller really looked good from the mid-range last night. What do you make of his early success and what his role looks to be moving forward?
Yeah, he has surpassed my expectations, and I was pretty high on him coming in, but just a really natural scorer, like you said, in the mid-range, just really good feel around the paint, in the paint, gets to the rim well. Still not shooting the three at a high level to this point. I think he's 3 of 13 on the year, but that is the kind of player that, as a freshman, to come in and contribute off the bench like that and give them a scoring punch then. And I really think it's important because of the absence of Tyrell Ward and him not playing this season. I was worried about their wing scoring production, and he has stepped right in. And if he can give you, 10 points a game, 8 to 10 points a game, I think that's huge.
They haven't shot it great from three statistically outside of Carter, who's just been scorching hot. Do you expect that to get a little bit better? Or do you think that they're not going to lean on the three quite as heavily as we may have thought after that exhibition game?
Yeah, I think they, with Ward leaving and then with Mike Williams struggling early on, they really don't have a ton of three-point shooters outside of Cam and Jordan Sears. I think those two need to get up more threes, honestly. Last night they combined to go 3 of 6 from the field. I think both of them can be 40% three-point shooters, so I think the volume for those two needs to go up. But, yeah, it's definitely a concern for me moving forward offensively. I think Jalen Reed's going to have to be more of a presence on the inside and open up those 3-point shots. And eventually I think Mike Williams has to get back on the court in some capacity.
This weekend, playing potentially a couple of pretty solid basketball teams up there at the Greenbrier. What does this weekend mean for LSU? Kind of how do you expect it to go?
Yeah, I think the Kansas State win was the first step in terms of building a resume that we can compete in terms of being on the bubble, being inside the bubble, making the NCAA tournament without being a conference champion. Maybe that happens, but otherwise you're fighting with 30, 40 other teams in the country in that range of, 40 to 80 and trying to just build the best resume possible in March to get into the tournament. And Kansas State on the road is big, even if maybe they're not as good as we thought they would be this year. But Pitt is another huge game for that. Pitt is 16th in KenPom right now. They'll be ranked in the top 25 at some point soon. They beat West Virginia by 24.
Yeah.
They beat Murray State by 15. So it's a team that already has a couple good wins. And I think at the end of the year, if you beat Kansas State and you beat Pitt, I think those are 2 wins you're going to be able to hang your hat on pretty significantly. And then, we'll see what they have in the second game with either Wisconsin or UCF, which is another really, really big game.
My man's a busy dude, covering a lot of basketball games, men's and women's, for the Bengal Tiger on 3. Certainly will be there in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night as well for LSU and Vanderbilt. We apologize for the call dropping there, but we appreciate you being flexible with us. We'll talk next week, okay?
All good, Hunt. Thanks, man.
Matthew Brune, Bengal Tiger on 3, always great with his time with a little bit of LSU basketball. So again, apologize for that little technical difficulty during that segment. I think we're back up and rolling now. I want to get into some LSU football, specifically the sound that we heard from some of the players yesterday. Will Campbell was probably the most powerful of those. We'll talk about that coming up next. One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you're struggling, folks, with the Christmas gift for the loved one in your life, how about a new bathroom? How about a brand new closet? That'd probably be pretty well received, I would think. I know in my house, the one we lived in previously, my wife hated the closets. So if I could have gotten David Duvall and his team to come into that house and redo things, I think she would have been very, very happy. Unfortunately, I knew that we were going to move, so we just prioritized a closet in the move. If you don't want to move because you got a great interest rate and you're happy right where you are, you can still get that great custom closet Every single thing specifically designed for you. David and his team can do it. They can handle your work in the bathroom as well. Get that free consultation with David and his team. Check out the website, onebathandclosets.com. Start right there. Get the consultation, see pictures of their great work, see their reviews from the satisfied customers, and get the show on the road. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, chugging along here, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. SEC football power rankings coming your way a little over 10 minutes from right now. This is the point of the college football season that's tough. Doesn't necessarily present itself as often around here with LSU basketball and certainly LSU baseball, where you feel like there's just not a lot on the table as an LSU football team right now. Certainly the program has room to grow. Certainly some of the younger players can continue to get those reps, improve, and certainly you want to go out there on a Saturday night in Death Valley and you want to win a football game. But this is a championship level football program. It's been at that level for 25 years. And when you lose this many games, you can't win a championship. The only thing LSU can play for here is a little bit of pride down the stretch, a better trip to a bowl game, and then you see who even shows up for the bowl game. But at this point, it's difficult to rally the troops to be as locked in as you were 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. It's just the case. And I told y'all that I have enjoyed my conversations with some of the players on Tuesdays this year. I haven't had those conversations since 2013 when I got off the beat day-to-day writing. And because I'm writing now for LouisianaSports.net, I've got the opportunity to do player interviews every Tuesday. And it's been interesting to see. And I've told y'all a lot of the time that morale with the players is better than morale with the fans. Fans take losses more seriously on the internet and in their day-to-day lives a lot of times than players do. Players just excited to get to the next one. And I've told y'all that week after week. And last night, morale was different with the players. They weren't completely melancholy and dismissal of the rest of the season, but you could tell in talking to the players that their goals have been wiped off the table. You could tell they're going to have to summon a little bit different motivation. It was evident. And I don't think that's completely unexpected, but I want to let you know that it was evident to me. Now, Will Campbell had, I thought, the most to say. And so we're going to play a little bit of sound from him yesterday. The first is, what's your motivation to go out there on Saturday night?
We're eager to win. I mean, nobody around here, whether that's people in the building or people outside the building, want to lose. And, we have a good opportunity this week. We got to come out and play our style of football for 4 quarters and get this stain off of us.
Got to get this stain off us. But you can hear in his voice, it's just very, he is a deep-voiced Southern drawl talker to begin with. But that sound and his demeanor and disposition in this press conference was miles different than that USC press conference. We're going to run the ball, and we're not trying to hide that from any, but he was authoritative and demonstrative in that press conference. Last night, it didn't feel like that. And this was, I thought, the most powerful quote he gave about his expectation. He grew up watching LSU football compete for championships. This is a guy who's watched this his entire time. And from the time he signed on the dotted line, his goal was to win a championship. And we all feel very confident in suggesting he's got probably 2 games left to play at LSU, maybe 3. And he'll move on. And he's not going to win a championship at LSU outside of the SEC Western Division 2 years ago. And this is what Will Campbell had to say about that situation last night.
Because people, outside the building will, at the end of the day, if you don't win a championship here, it's a failure. And I agree with that. But we still have a lot to play for. 6-6 is a lot worse than 8-4. So we have to go win 2 more games. And, everybody else can doubt us, all that. But we know what we have to do to finish this year on the right way and get into a good bowl game and do what we have to do. And that's really the bottom line.
You don't hear that word a lot, failure. He said, you don't win a championship here, it's a failure, and I agree with that. I mean, that's a powerful thing to say. But to his point, 6-6 is worse than 8-4. So that's what they've got to go out and do. And LSU, we found out last night, had a players-only meeting. You had that called by Greg Penn and Garrett Nussmeier, Josh Williams. Those guys assembled the team and spoke to them on Monday about what's to come. And this is a longer bite from Will Campbell, but this is kind of the message that was relayed to the team on Monday about what they've got to get into.
Yeah, I mean, we got up and talked in front of the team. We talked in front of the offense. We had a unit meeting with the coaches. We're just talking things out, trying to, everybody get on the same page because, you got to have all 11 guys clicking as one to, make this thing go. And we've been in a situation to, win a lot of games, but at the end of the day, we have to finish. And that's the thing, you go back and look. Not a lot of people pay attention to that, but we've led going into the fourth quarter out of 3 of the 4 losses that we have. We have to finish games, and that's something that we haven't done. And it's not a coaching problem. It's not a scheme. It's none of that. It's us. We have to be able to do the little things right. And when you don't deserve to win, quite frankly. Whenever you have, I think against Florida, we had 13 negative plays, whether that's penalties, missed assignments, whatever you might call it. You don't deserve to win an SEC football game on the road in a hostile environment against a good football team with a good coaching staff. It's just not what it is. This isn't high school football. So if we want to win, we have to do the little things right for 4 straight quarters.
He's a straight shooter, man. He's going to get into those NFL meetings, those NFL interviews with teams, and they're going to love him because he just doesn't sugarcoat much. And I know that his quote about running the football before USC hasn't aged great, but it's a guy that's accountable. It's a guy that understands. He's mature, and he's not high energy when he talks, but you listen. It's powerful when he talks. And we'll see if that message got through to the team. Now, Brian Kelly was on the SEC teleconference earlier today, and he was asked, how's team morale? You all have lost 3 games in a row here, and this is what Brian Kelly had to say.
Disappointed. The coaches are disappointed. Every fan that follows LSU is disappointed, and they should be. We don't sign up for this for anything but positive outcomes. But they are committed. They are resolute in what they want to do, and they want to play better football, and excited to coach them because of the way that they have presented themselves to us. And that is keep coaching us, stick with the process, coach us hard, coach us fair, and help us get better each and every week.
The interesting thing about this week with LSU and Vanderbilt is that there's no pressure on LSU anymore. There's pressure on all those guys in the season opener when you have lost 4 season openers in a row. There's pressure on you to go win that game. Then you lose that game, you realize your margin for error is 0. So there's pressure on you to keep winning. And you play Ole Miss, there's pressure on you to win that game. You go to Texas A&M, there's pressure on you to win that game. Well, then you have a bye week after your second loss to Texas A&M, and Alabama's coming in, and everybody's calling it an elimination game. The reporters are talking to the players, calling it an elimination game, myself included. Everybody on ESPN's calling it an elimination game. Game day comes, they call it an elimination game. There's a lot of pressure in that game, and you lose. And then everybody's saying, well, if all these games happen and all of them are favorites, if all the chalk holds, you can still get to the SEC championship. So you're still playing against Florida with a lot of pressure. There is no pressure anymore. You lose this game, doesn't matter. You win this game, doesn't matter. All that matters is your pride at that point. So it could be an LSU team that can play a little lighter, a little looser, a little more fun. It could be an LSU team that throws in a white towel. I don't know. But I can tell you that the pressure is gone. And now it's upon LSU to find some momentum, find some energy, execute, and beat 2 teams that, quite frankly, LSU is better than. I'm going to do my power rankings here in a second, and I'll let you know how this whole thing shakes out. But man-to-man, recruiting rankings, NFL talent, you've got better players than Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. And both of them are at home, and both of them are at night. we'll see what LSU team shows up on Saturday. That's kind of the fun of it. All right, when we come back, SEC football power rankings. It is the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. EvolvePT.com is the website. Robbie Bolton's been at this 2 decades. If you're in pain and you're an active person, give Robbie a call. If you're not in pain or you're not active, you probably don't need to give Robbie a call. But if you've been in a car accident, if you've suffered an injury, if you've had a surgery, and you need to regain your strength and get rid of that pain, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports is where you need to be. Their hands-on physical therapy staff is going to make sure that you're on the right track, and they're going to be with you every step of the way. Oftentimes, Robbie says folks come in and they say, well, I had physical therapy, but they just gave me this list of exercises to do, and I just went in once a week and they kind of checked on me, and I didn't really get any better. That's not going to happen at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. One of their physical therapists will be with you from the time you walk in, the time you walk out, and they'll be measuring your progress to make sure you get back to being where you need to be. Maybe it's working out every day. Maybe it's playing with the kids or grandkids. Maybe it's playing golf, pickleball. Whatever the case may be, if you're active and you're in pain and not able to do the things you want to do, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports is where you need to be. They're on Starring near Highland Road. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, EvolvePT.com.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show with former Texas A&M Yell leader, Hunt Palmer. Giga Maggies.
Still feel like there are lots of people driving around town that have no idea what that drop's about.
Oh, come on, Hunt. That video got millions of views.
I think it got 8 million views.
Yeah.
But I still think there are people that have no idea. Maybe not. Maybe everyone knows.
Everyone knows.
Not my finest hour.
It was your finest hour.
Many would
Hunt.
say it is my finest hour.
It was. It was. It was before the game.
The game was so bad. The game was terrible. Devon Achane, 5,000 rushing yards in 4 quarters. That's just devastating. SEC West champs can't beat the worst A&M team I've ever seen. All right, let's do power rankings.
Hunt's SEC Power Rankings.
All right, hold on one second.
Because we lost power?
Well, it's part of that, but it's also because I just need time to switch over to something. But here we go.
Okay.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
I do have Ole Miss at number 1. That has not changed. I think Ole Miss is the most complete team in the Southeastern Conference. I like their quarterback the best. I like their pass rush the best. I like what they did against Georgia the best. I think they're the best team in the SEC. I think they're a threat to win the national championship. I will be pulling vehemently against them to do so, but I think they've got a real chance to do it. They are real good. Number 2.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
They're not moving either. Beat Tennessee over the weekend. I think the Dogs, if Carson Beck plays like that, they're a different team. He didn't turn it over, was efficient, didn't take a bunch of sacks against a good pass rush. Their defense has been good, not dominant, but it's still good. I think Georgia's a national championship threat. I've got them at number 2. They don't move.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
I didn't move Tennessee either. They lost at Georgia. They were leading 10-0. They were tied 17-17 at half. Yeah, they got beat in the second half. Yeah, they got beat in the fourth quarter. Yeah, they're, not exactly as efficient as I would want in the passing game. And Georgia got after their defense in a way that nobody has yet. But I still think Tennessee's very good. I think Tennessee deserves to be in the playoff. We'll see what happens over the next 2 weeks. But I'm not backing them up for a loss at Georgia. I left them right there at number 3.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
I did move Alabama up here. Maybe that's just Jalen Milroe sinking in more to me over the course of 7 days because I had them at 5 and then they didn't do much last week. But it's still Alabama. They've got Jalen Milroe who can be a nuisance to deal with. They're not the machine they were for 10 years, but I still think that they're a nuisance to play with. So I got Bama there at number 4.
The Texas Longhorns.
I backed Texas up after a 10-point road win. I don't really know why. I just feel like this is the way I did it to my head. I said, if Texas and Alabama played each other in Toledo tomorrow, who do I think would win? And for some reason, I thought that Alabama would win, so I put them at number 4. I think it's close. I think both teams are threats to make a run in the playoffs. I went with Alabama this week over Texas. Don't really have a great reason why. Next,
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
This team's good. They continue to win. They gave up more points than I thought they would against Missouri, but now that you got Lenora Sellers actually throwing the ball efficiently, not turning it over, we know he can run the ball, and that pass rush is absolutely fierce. I like South Carolina. I think they're a very, very good team. I didn't move them up here, but I think they're right behind that group of teams that I think are very much in the mix for the playoff, and certainly they're above number 7, who they've already handled.
Texas A&M!
They just dealt with the Longhorns 3 weeks ago. The Aggies 3 weeks ago. So I gotta leave them there. I still think Texas A&M has got a puncher's chance in the game against Texas. I got to see him beat Auburn first. I'll be pulling for Coach Freeze and the Auburn Tigers there in that one. A&M on the outside of the playoff looking to get in. They got work to do over the last 2 weeks. I think they're the 7th best team in the SEC.
I just want to say, before you reveal this next team,
yes,
it's actually hilarious that our power went out and now our live stream is down.
Yes.
So all of the people in the chat will not be hearing this.
Yeah.
But we will have to state for the record, it will be recorded, of course, on air. So here's the next team.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
Got Vandy in the top half of the SEC. They come in at number 8. I think the entirety of the body of work, even though they got beat handily by South Carolina 21-7, the entirety of the body of the work deserves this. They're not the best group of players, but the whole is better than the sum of the parts. Pavia doesn't turn the ball over. They know what they want to do in terms of time of possession. Their defense has been scrappy and plucky. They beat Bama. They played Texas really close. They beat Auburn. I think they'll probably play LSU and Tennessee close. I think they're a pretty good team. I got them at number 8.
The Florida Gators.
This one hurt because I've been bashing Florida all year, and now I've got to put them ahead of LSU. Again, I'm not certain that Florida's got a better football team than LSU, and I certainly don't simply go off head-to-head. That doesn't work if you try to do that for 16 teams. But LSU seems broken right now, and Florida played really hard, and DJ Lagway looked good in the first half against Georgia before he got hurt, and then they beat LSU by 11 points when he came back. So I got to go with Florida at number 9 here.
The LSU Tigers.
Back to number 10. That's a 2-spot dip. That stings. I think I had LSU at 3 weeks ago. But that's the way this thing has gone. They can't get things going in the passing game to the extent they need to. The red zone offense hasn't been good enough, and the defense has got a lot of cracks, giving up big runs and big plays. So LSU now down to number 10 spot in the SEC power rankings.
The Missouri Tigers.
Missouri played tough against South Carolina, and they beat Oklahoma, so it seems like they've been a little bit better than they were, especially now that Brady Cook is back. That helps them, but I still don't think they're a very good team, so got them down at number 11.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Hogs, decent effort against Texas. You lose 20-10. Again, really good against Tennessee. Outside of that, the body of work's pretty mediocre. Did go to Mississippi State and look great, but Ole Miss kind of embarrassed them. LSU embarrassed them. So it's the top of the bottom, if you will, with Arkansas, but that still puts you at number 12.
The Auburn Tigers.
Auburn moves up 2 spots this week. I'm not sure why. I think I was kind of weighing the Kentucky win from 2 weeks ago, and I still think that Auburn, when right, can move the ball. They just don't ever win, which is a bit of an issue when that's really the goal of the entire sport. So Auburn moves up a couple spots, not all the way back where they had been, but still at number 13.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Oklahoma comes in at 14. Looked better over the weekend, but still you're not getting things done. I think their offense is real clunky. No matter if Jackson Arnold's back there or if Hawkins is back there, they don't have any of their receivers healthy. The defense, while we thought it was good early, was just playing a Tennessee offense that was in a rut. They haven't really been good on defense since then, outside of a half against Ole Miss. I just don't think Oklahoma's very good. I got them at 14.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
It's basketball season in Lexington. We talked about that last week. Once they beat Duke, and you can't beat anybody in the SEC, and you've got one win, they're going to turn that thing down in Lexington. It's time to drink some bourbon and watch basketball up there. And nobody will mind in Lexington that they're down at number 15. I dropped them 2 spots this week. They are the 2nd worst team in the league by my estimation.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Coach Levy's Dogs. Just all eyes on the Egg Bowl in a couple of weeks. See if they can't pull a shocker. I got breaking news on that. They will not be pulling a shocker in that game. But he's just got to go recruit. Signing day is going to be big for them. Transfer portal is going to be big for them. They just don't have the guys right now, and it certainly doesn't help when your starting quarterback goes down a couple of weeks into the season. Although Van Buren hasn't been terrible, the defense has been the issue. So Mississippi State is last. That's your look at the SEC power rankings Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, 1, 2, 3. Then you got Alabama at 4, Texas at 5, South Carolina at 6, A&M 7, Vanderbilt 8, Florida 9. At the 10th spot, you got LSU. Missouri's at 11, Arkansas 12, Auburn 13, Oklahoma 14, Kentucky 15, and the Mississippi State Bulldogs in the 16th slot. Beck, have at it.
I can't say that I have any problems with this list, Hunt. I am proud of you for swallowing.
What about Texas at 5? That's pretty low.
No, well, I have always, this whole season, I've been on the side of questioning Texas because they haven't gotten a good result yet this season against a good team. So I am of the belief that you have to prove that you can win a game against a good team, and they haven't done that yet. So I don't have a problem with that. And then I'm very proud of you for swallowing your pride and actually giving Vandy the credit where they're due, and putting them at 8. And the Florida and LSU one is, to me, this is the epitome of what power rankings are, because it's a week-to-week thing, and it's not a total sum of the season. Obviously, LSU has a better wins than Florida does, I think, on the season as a whole, with the wins over Ole Miss and South Carolina. But they've lost 3 in a row, and so you can't. And they just lost to Florida. So I think some people may scoff at that and say Florida's 5-5 or whatever their record is. They haven't gotten any good wins, but they just beat LSU, and LSU's lost 3 in a row. So I don't have a problem with it.
And they played Georgia really tough before Lightweight got hurt.
Yeah.
So here's I just did this off freehand, but I know what Texas' schedule is because I just went through. They play, then play, they play. This is in my power rankings who Texas has played, will have played this year. Number 16, Mississippi State. That's last. Number 15, Kentucky this week. Number 14, Oklahoma. Number 12, Arkansas. Number 9, Florida. Number 8, Vanderbilt. Number 7, A&M. And number 2, Georgia.
Yep.
So they did not play 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11.
Well, then they haven't played A&M yet anyway. So that's they play them last. So yeah, they haven't even played.
Of the games they've played, it's been 16, 14, 12, 9, 8, 2.
And 2, and they lost to Georgia.
Yeah,
so
they lost to 2.
Yeah.
So that's pretty shocking. Let's see if I can flip it around. What did Oklahoma get this year? They play Ole Miss. That's 1. They play Tennessee. That's 3. They play Alabama. That's 4. They play Texas. That's 5. They play South Carolina. That's 6. They play A&M. That's 7. They play Vanderbilt. That's no, Oklahoma doesn't. I'm not doing Oklahoma there.
No.
They didn't play A&M or Vanderbilt.
LSU, of course.
They played LSU. I think they played Missouri, right? Yeah.
No,
they played all the other teams. That's
Yes.
it. They played all the other teams. I didn't even have to do that. So that's amazing.
Yep.
That's an amazing dichotomy.
And Georgia too. If you look at Georgia, I mean, they've played so many good teams.
Because when you realize what I didn't even put that together on the spot. That's what happens when you do live radio. But when I put Texas together, all you had to do was just flip it, and that's literally who Oklahoma plays, including Texas. That's tough. Come back and close things out on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. When you think Genesis, you should think luxury. When you think luxury, don't immediately think that prices you right out of the market. Go check them out. Airline at Piku. Phenomenal facility, first-class staff, and the perks that come with being a Genesis driver are phenomenal. You're talking about a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. You're talking about 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance. They come to you. They pick up the car. They take it to the dealership to get serviced. They bring it back to you. You didn't even change your routine at all. You just go to work, let them take your car, and they'll bring it right back to you. They'll leave a car with you while they're doing it. You will also have access to a phenomenal staff there at Genesis of Baton Rouge and a first-class service facility should you decide to go in. It's clean, it's comfortable, it's quiet, the Wi-Fi is good. You can spend some time there, have a cup of coffee, and let them work on your vehicle. It's all first class over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. So if you haven't considered Genesis in your car buying experience, maybe you're buying one for the Christmas season, go ahead and check them out. Airline at Piku. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, we're wrapping things up here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Been a fun show. We only got one order of business left, and that, of course, is a little bit of take it or leave it.
All righty, first one here. Power outages, take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Because I think it happened at the right time. We didn't need that happening between 3 and 6. And I think it's shout out Boudreaux's Electrical, so you can know that you got a generator that'll power you right back up when
good.
when things happen.
That's
so
nice.
if
nice
power outages happen in South Louisiana, Boudreaux's Electrical will help you out with all of that.
Wow, what a professional
shout
response.
out to the team for helping out, because literally, as everyone knows here, when something like that happens and I'm in this chair, I'm of no help to anyone at all. I can't do anything. I'm of no service. Y'all just have to point at me when it's time to start talking again, and that's basically what happened.
All right, next one here. The Pelicans will not have their 7 highest paid players tonight when they take on the Cavs at 6:30. The Birmingham Pelicans, take it or leave it.
I mean, take it. That's just not a tenable situation. Your top 7 on an NBA team, not going to get it done.
Nope.
I didn't even know B.I. got hurt. All of a sudden, he's got some sort of ankle sprain thing. It's just one thing after another, and it stinks because it's gonna put them so far behind the 8 ball that it's not even gonna be interesting to talk about them in the late winter, early spring, which is when it's usually fun. So it's a bummer for everybody involved there. I don't really have any sage words of any takes or hot. There's just nothing to say. They just can't stay healthy, and they're not gonna go to the playoffs.
All right, next one here. Former Murray State guard John Morant, who of course played for Matt McMahon while he was there,
he did
send the Tigers some of his new line of basketball shoes for the team. Take it or leave it.
Take it, yeah. Good shoes, new shoes. That's a good thing. That's good that John Morant's still got a good relationship with Matt McMahon. I feel like that's a good thing for LSU because he's the most high-profile player that Matt McMahon's ever coached, obviously. John Morant's had his issues off the floor, but appears to be back and playing at the moment and sending some shoes to LSU. That's a good thing. Any hook to get players to want to come to LSU for basketball, I'm for, because I don't think we're going to be lining up next to all the Blue Bloods winning NIL wars with them for 5-star players. So any hook that LSU's got that can make the basketball program a little more enticing and can make things happen for them, I'm all for it.
All right, last one here. The NL Cy Young will be announced. The Rookie of the Year, Paul Skeens, will be the winner. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that.
Yeah.
Chris Sale's going to win that, I believe. Zach Wheeler had a heck of a season as well, but it's very cool that Paul Skeens was included as a finalist there. We talked about it last week. He got the Rookie of the Year earlier this week. Looked like he had a festive occasion at an establishment here in town. But I don't think he's going to win the Cy Young. I do think he'll win some Cy Youngs, though, if he can stay healthy. That was an incredible first year for him. I can still remember leaving the Monster Truck show to go home and watch Skeens pitch against the Cubs in his opener. Thankfully, that was a good excuse to get out of the Monster Truck show because it just wasn't really my thing. Somehow, my 2.5-year-old still loved it, even though it was violently loud. But we wanted to get out of there at intermission, go check out Skeens, and we got that accomplished. So great first year for Paul. I don't think he'll be rewarded with that Cy Young, but doesn't mean that that's over, though. You think think they'll make the playoffs while he's there?
I think they can.
That's not what I asked.
I think they will, actually. I'll say that they will. They can make. I think they can do it.
Is it okay if I say I hope they don't?
Yeah, I guess.
That's literally definitely a spot taken away from me if they do make it.
Yeah, it is.
And he's terrifying if the Cubs had to match up against him. So I don't know if I want to deal with that. I liked when he was on my team in the playoffs. That was good when he was pitching against Tulane in the playoffs and pitching against Kentucky in the playoffs, pitching against Tennessee in the playoffs, pitching against Wake Forest in the playoffs. Those were the playoff starts I liked. They were called regionals and super regionals to College World Series. I liked him on my side, not pitching against my guys in the playoffs. So I don't mean it, Paul.
But the Cubs went out and signed a new reliever.
Yeah, some guy I never heard of.
They're making moves.
No, I never heard of him. Where's Juan Soto? That's who I want. Get him.
Yeah.
Who else is out there? There's got to be some good pitcher.
I'm sure there is.
Blake Snell.
Yeah, go out and get him. Easy.
They will not. All right, that's it for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Apologies for the little technical difficulty that we had a little earlier. Power went down, and those of you that jumped back in the Bayou Ford YouTube chat on the YouTube stream, thanks for coming back. Sorry that we lost you there in the middle of the interview with Matthew Brune, but we had a lot of fun today and talked about a lot of things all over the sports spectrums. Open things up with LSU's basketball win over Charleston Southern. Talk with J.D. Piquel about the college football playoff. What does he see from Tennessee? What does he see from Texas at this point? I thought there were some interesting talking points there, so you can check that out. about it was a what if Wednesday. We talked about me playing Augusta left-handed and how that would go. Taysom Hill, he needs the football a lot. I talked about that at the end of hour number 1, and you can find that at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Open the 2 o'clock hour with a power outage, but we talked basketball with Matthew Brune before and after that. And then LSU's team morale. How's LSU handling these last 2 weeks without much to play for? Will Campbell had some pretty powerful words yesterday, and we played those for you at 2:15. SEC Power Rankings as well. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can always find us as well as on YouTube. That's it for us. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review. We're back tomorrow, same time and same place. Always invite you to check out LouisianaSports.net, and Hoops with Hunt is back. Check out where you find your podcast. Every time we talk basketball, it's there. Have a good Wednesday. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa been running things for 40 years down at Boudreaux's Electrical. Look, it's Christmas time, and that means the holiday season is upon us. You're going to have guests that are coming over, and you got an opportunity to give gifts as well. It's a great time to think about a Generac home standby generator. Look, it's the gift that keeps on giving. You give it once, it gives power for a very, very long time, 7 to 10 years on that Generac generator. And Boudreaux's Electrical is where you need to go to get that generator. They've got over 10 Generac certified techs that can make sure that your generator is running all the time. They monitor it 24/7 remotely. If there's a mechanical issue, they'll know about it remotely. They'll send somebody to make sure that you're taken care of. So if there's a power outage, especially when the whole family's in town, you're taken care of with that Generac home standby generator. You can find them online at boudreauxelectrical.com. That is boudreauxelectrical.com.